Welcome to the webinar on Women's Retirement Roadmap. So we're going to be talking about a number of financial planning subjects today, but really trying to gear them a little bit more toward the female perspective because women have some different challenges than men do when it comes to planning for retirement. Just because some differences in their working years, maybe. Obviously, women live longer than men. Women tend to be more conservative investors than men. So there's a number of things that come into play when we talk about retirement planning for females, for women. My name is Mark Arola. I'm a financial advisor speaking to you right now from my office in downtown Pleasanton. So we serve clients throughout the East Bay area, actually, throughout the Bay Area, but our focus is the East Bay. And I'm glad you joined the session today. I think you'll find the information interesting. Hopefully it's useful for you. And, we do a lot of webinars just to try to help educate people in the community. If you want to make good decisions, you probably need some good education and good information. And when it comes to retirement planning, there's a lot of subjects that go into that. And we're going to cover a number of those today. But to make a good decision, I think it helps for people to have a good basis of knowledge. And so we've historically run a lot of live events throughout the Tri-Valley, been doing lots of webinars over the past 12 months and continue to do those now. Hopefully we'll be doing some live events going forward to educate people as well. So, with that, let me get the content started here. Get the slides up on the screen. And so Women's Retirement Roadmap, I do a lot of work with couples or women or single men. Everybody has needs and everybody wants to retire. But, we try to put together, we're using the word roadmap here because we want to have a plan. We want to have a map as to where we're trying to go if we're retiring. So, what is the route that we can get from age 60 to age 95, be successful, have the money, be able to spend with confidence, have the right health care coverage, the right kind of long-term care coverage, whatever that might be, so that we can maintain dignity, again, have a good lifestyle in retirement. This last year has been very interesting, I think, for everybody, obviously. I recall right now a client that I had worked with, a single female, last year around this time, and she was retiring somewhere around April of last year. She had everything all lined up to do, a cruise to Europe with her girlfriends and exercise classes, everything that you dream of doing when you retire. And of course, that all got shut down. But on top of that, she had been at the same company for years and they were planning a big farewell party with all of her friends and associates. That got completely canned. She really couldn't say goodbye to people. To top that off, her dog died. And on top of that, when she was walking into the garage, she tripped, fell on the step, broke her ankle, and was in a cast for a few months. So this all happened right around the time she retired. It's not what she had envisioned, but life has a way of changing whatever plans we make. But the good news is now she's able to start doing all these things because we did have a good plan in place. So we want to have a plan, but sometimes life will just make a change, and hopefully we can redirect course and still get successfully to our end destination. Now, I do need to just put this disclosure slide up here. Basically, what this is saying is I'm giving some very generalized advice on the webinar. It may or may not apply to your own personal situation. So, don't just take this and run with it. You want to really customize it to your own situation. Also, I am going to be talking about taxes, maybe a little bit about estate planning, but I'm not a CPA. I'm not an estate planning attorney. I want to make that clear. I am a financial advisor. As a financial advisor, a question people ask me quite regularly would be, am I a fiduciary? Well, the answer to that is yes. If you're licensed or regulated as a financial advisor, then we are held to the fiduciary standard, which means we always have to put the client's interests ahead of our own, which really we should do that anyway. In any kind of a business, when you're serving people, you should put their interests first. But if you're a broker, a stockbroker, or a registered representative, maybe somebody working for a big corporate entity, you could be set up that way, and then you're not held to the same standard. You're held to what's called a suitability standard. So you don't necessarily have to do what's best for the client. Doesn't mean individuals are gonna do that, but yes, indeed, I am a fiduciary, so we need to put the client's interest first, and everything works out in the end of the day. So also, before I go too far, let me just kind of explain how the webinar is going to work. There may be some times where I'm going to suggest, if you want, you can have a 15-minute phone call with me. So I kind of look at this as a two-part session. I'm going to go through a lot of information over the next 30 minutes or so. And if you have questions along the way, you'll be able to click on a link. There'll be a little red button that will pop up. And then my calendar is pretty clear over the next couple of weeks for this webinar. So we reserved a lot of times. You can click on a time and schedule a complimentary 15-minute phone call with me, which would answer hopefully any of your questions on the webinar or anything else regarding your retirement. The other thing would be, there's a chat box, I believe, that's on the screen. You can enter any question that you have, and I'll try to answer it. If I don't answer it on the webinar, because I don't want it to take too long, I'll take up too much time, but I will answer it within 24 hours, depending, I'll get back to you by email on that, and hopefully take care of your concerns or any open questions. So the three retirement realities for women, you see three percentages up there, the 12%. So 12% of women feel that they are adequately prepared for retirement. So, highly confident that they're going to have a good retirement, which means 88% don't. So that's a bad number for sure, with only 12%. 90%, the number in the middle, 90% of women feel that they should be more involved in their financial decision-making, their financial planning. So if you're single, you can certainly take full ownership of that. But one of the problems people face is everything looks so complicated. What I try to do, or what I do, is try to make things a little simpler for our clients, and they understand of their decisions. And then the other thing, if you're married, many times one person or the other, the husband or the wife, is going to take charge of the finances. Statistically, I'd say it's the husband 2 out of 3 times. So if that's your situation and you feel you should be more involved, that's a conversation you can have with your spouse. But the other thing you have to consider is, what if he was to predecease you by a large number of years? So he died unexpectedly at 68 years old. What kind of situation are you going to be in? So it may help you to have some relationship with a financial professional already, should that unforeseen event happen. And then the number on the right, 44%. So actually 44% of all females enter retirement totally on their own. So either they're widowed, they're single, maybe never were married, or they're divorced. So that's nearly half of you are kind of on your own, and you do need to be responsible for all the planning and the results that are going to come from that. Now, life expectancy. This is where something a little bit more challenge for a woman, because good news, you live longer, but the bad news is you live longer. So you need a lot more income to last throughout an extended retirement. So on the top of this chart, you can see a married couple age 65, that if that's roughly your situation, one of you, between the husband and a wife, has a 25% chance of living all the way up to the age of 97. And those are reasonable odds, 1 out of 4, that you could go all the way to 97 years old. In the middle, we see just a straight single female, that you have a 25% chance of making it to age 96. So if you retire at 65, that's over 30 years in retirement. So the big question, one of the big issues, is how do we plan to have a reliable income, reliable paychecks over that long period of time? And when you think about your finances, they're really broken up simply into 2 major phases in your life, okay, at a high level. So on the left-hand side of the chart here, we have your pre-retirement accumulation phase. This is where you're funding your 401k accounts, you're funding your IRA accounts, you're stuffing money in, but you're not taking money out. And hopefully this is going to occur from, age 25 all the way up to age 60. So you built up a good asset base. Now, when you reach the flag, the peak, the top of the mountain, that's the day that you retire. And now you're going down the backside of the mountain and you are in retirement, and you're in what we call the distribution phase. So you start to distribute money out of your accounts for the first time ever. Now, this completely changes your situation, because now for the first time ever, instead of adding money, you're taking money out. And you have to be very careful in how you structure your portfolio to make sure the money's going to last. Now, that's what we do. That's what I do as a financial advisor, or one part of it. So, here's a picture of a pretty happy, energetic gal. And what are the 3 kicks in retirement? Well, number one, hopefully everybody gets this immediate joy of kicking off your retirement. I equate it to maybe when you're in grade school and school ends for the whole year. It's June 10th, the last day of school. Everybody is excited. There's a lot of adrenaline when that bell rings. Everybody races home. I remember doing that as a kid. And, you're going to play baseball, you're going to play tag in the street, whatever it is. Maybe that's the feeling you get close to the day of retiring. At least I like to think so. The other second kick item might be kicking yourself for really not doing a good job in retirement planning, in saving and investing, and building out a retirement plan. Now, maybe you were in a situation you didn't have the extra income to save and invest, but I find a lot of people do, and they just didn't prioritize it. And so then it becomes a rush at the end from age 55 to 65 to kind of fix problems that could have been minimized if saving was done earlier. And then the last thing is, if you did a good job, maybe you're going to be kicking it up in retirement, enjoying all the planning that you've done, and never have a big concern at all throughout your full retirement. At least financial concern. Things come up that are concerns, of course. So the first area I want to talk about in detail would be Social Security. Social Security is a topic that generates a huge amount of interest. A lot of people don't know how it works. A lot of information out there on the internet that is not factual. It's halfway factual, which is typical of information on the internet. So let's step through some of the key issues here. First of all, what I'm showing you is a single page out of your Social Security report that you can download off the web. We all used to get this report every year from Social Security, but they stopped doing that about 10 years ago. It was just too much paper to be sending out in the mail. So the purpose of this report is that you can find out what your benefits are. Now, in that box there that's kind of circled or checked out, square box with 3 different numbers in it, 15, 54 a month, and I can't quite read the other ones. The one in green might be 1,300 a month. That is showing your benefits at full retirement at age 70 and at age 62. So actually the green one is age 70. That would be $19.38 a month at age 70. And this individual will get $15.54 a month at full retirement. And then at age 62, $1,072 a month. So with Social Security, you're going to file either between age 62 or any age in between 62 and age 70. There's no reason to wait beyond age 70 at all, because your benefits aren't going to grow. If you haven't seen this statement, please go to the website on the bottom of this slide, ssa.gov, and sign up for your Social Security access, and then you'll be able to get this statement and see what your current benefits are. That's an important piece of the financial planning, obviously. Now, collecting early versus collecting late. Why would you not collect at age 62 if you're eligible? Well, because you're going to get a lower benefit. If your targeted full retirement age by Social Security was age 66, if you take the benefits at age 62, there's a 25% reduction in your benefits for the rest of your life. So that's a big difference in lifetime income. If you wait beyond full retirement age, your benefits are going to grow guaranteed at 8% every year. So at age 70, they're going to max out. And full retirement age is just Social Security's fancy phrase for when do you get your full benefits, what they define as full benefits. So it's going to be age 66 if you were born before 1954. And if you're born after 1960, it's 67. And if you're in between there, it's going to vary by like 66 2 months, 66 4 months. It'll say right on your statement what that is. But when do you file? It really depends on a number of other factors. And if you file early before full retirement and you're still working, it's really probably a very bad idea because you're going to lose a lot of your benefits. So we're trying to give some high level overview of Social Security here on the webinar. A question of longevity. Well, filing early versus filing later, if you had that crystal ball and you knew exactly how long you were going to live, it would make the analysis very simple. We could easily maximize it. Of course, most people don't know, but what we show here is 3 different lines. What if you started at age 62? What if you started benefits at 66? What if you started benefits at age 70? So if you start at 62, you're getting money right away versus waiting to 66, but the crossover point is age 78. So if you think you're going to live beyond age 78, maybe you want to wait to age 66 because then you'll be getting more money throughout your lifetime. The next trade-off is 66 to 70, and that break-even point is age 82 and a half. So if you live beyond 82 and a half, you'll get the most money out of Social Security by waiting to age 70. But and you would have heard a lot of, if you study finance or read financial magazines, you'll hear many people saying, oh, always wait to age 70. But that doesn't really make sense all the time, because when do you think you're getting all that money? You're getting that extra money when you're 85 and 95 years old. When do you think you're going to have more fun taking a cruise to Europe? When you're 70 or when you're 90? Well, we know the answer to that one. So it's really an overall analysis of your other income sources, your lifestyle, to figure out what's the optimal strategy. Now, spousal benefits. This one is probably one of the most confused topics out there, how people think this works. And if your spouse has a much higher benefit than you have, you might be eligible for spousal benefits. And spousal benefits start, you get 100% of those at full retirement age. So in this slide, it's showing full retirement at age 66. If you took the benefits early, you can, but you can see it's a reduction in benefits. But if you wait, there's no more growth in benefits on a spousal benefit. It's flat, unlike your own benefit, which would continue to grow. So not everybody can get a spousal benefit. Whether it makes sense to file early or not based on a spousal benefit, there's a lot of questions there. If this is something you're not sure how this works, I would click the red button there, or click the button to schedule the time to talk to me, because it's everybody's in an individualized situation, and to adequately go through this does take a little bit of time. Now, if you're divorced, and about half the population has been married once and they're divorced, there's some special rules that are going to apply to you. So spousal benefits you can still receive if you were married for 10 years. So if you're married to 10 years to your spouse, now you're divorced, and you're currently unmarried, or you're unmarried, you can tap in to your ex-spouse's benefits. And there is no impact to your ex-spouse, or let's say that person has remarried, has a new wife. There's no impact to them at all. As a matter of fact, they don't even know about it. Now, I recall one of my good clients who came in a couple years ago, and we were talking about her Social Security, and she was an immigrant from Iran. Her and her husband came, 30 years ago, and she was divorced. And I told her, you can get the spousal benefit. And she said, I don't want to do that because I don't want to deal with my ex-spouse. They didn't have a friendly divorce. And I said, he won't even know. And I explained the situation to her. And then she said, what do I need? So I said, you need to be able to go to Social Security Administration, show them your marriage certificate, your divorce, documentation, and that you were married for 10 years. They'll tell you what the benefit would be. So in her case, she had the divorce decree, but she did not have the marriage certificate that was left in Iran. But she found an old passport that showed they traveled through Saudi Arabia in the 1980s, and it was obvious by the passport that they were married. So she was able to take that documentation down to Social Security. It was good enough. she's still getting the spousal benefit. They're very happy about that. So again, a lot of people have access to certain benefits, and Social Security is not going to tell you that. You have to know yourself or know which questions to ask to get the answer that you're looking for. If you're divorced and your ex-spouse has passed away, you also may be able to get survivor benefits. So that's an option. And if you are widowed, so you're married and your husband died, there's special rules for you as well. And you may be able to start, or you can start your benefits as early as age 60. So you can get survivor benefits at age 60. You can grow your own benefit if you have one behind the scenes and flip to your own benefit at 67 or at age 70 if that amount's going to be bigger. And it's kind of a win-win scenario. There's a requirement that if you're a widow, that you remarry after the age of 60. So if you get remarried at 55, it's not going to count, right? So you want to wait till after 60. If you do have a sweetie pie and you want to get married, delay it to age 60. By the way, we've run into that with clients as well and said, hey, why don't you delay your marriage 6 months and you'll be able to keep this benefit. And so Social Security is one foundational piece of your monthly paychecks. Probably not enough to live on in the Bay Area and maintain a decent lifestyle in the Bay Area for most people, even if your house is paid off, just because of what the costs are. So where is your other money going to come from? How are you going to generate enough income in retirement? And so, when you do retire, again, just going through the arithmetic here, if you retire at age 62 and you live to age 95, that's a 33-year retirement. That's 1/3 of your whole life in retirement and almost half of your adult life. So that's quite a long time to plan for, and it's not something you want to try to do just on the back of an envelope. If you look at retirement of people in most baby boomers, that retirement's going to look a lot different than our parents' retirement. So people that retired in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, a lot of those folks had pensions. If they were working for big companies like IBM or Coca-Cola or PG&E, they had pensions. That was the foundation of their income. Again, retirement, key thing is you got to have income every month to pay the bills. So a pension was the foundation. Social Security laid on top of that to kind of supplement it. And then the top thing was your nest egg, people's savings. So at the time when you retired, you didn't need a huge nest egg to have a good retirement. Well, because pensions went away and the 401k came into being in the 1980s, now people that are retiring in the 2020s, the thing has flipped upside down where there's a pretty small pension, if any. Social Security is still in the middle, but now the nest egg is on the top. So you are now responsible for the majority of your retirement income planning, not your company. It's not a pension where they're obligated to give you that guaranteed income. It's kind of up to us as individuals to do that planning. And another challenge that women have when it comes to income planning is they're likely to outlive the husband. So you're likely to outlive your husband. Maybe you already have if you're on this webinar. And a few things are going to happen in that case. It's quite likely that your income's going to go down because at a minimum, you're going to lose one Social Security paycheck. You may also be losing a portion of a pension or a whole pension if your spouse had one. And then taxes, so your income's going down, and then taxes are going to go up because you're going to lose a standard deduction on the tax return, and you're going to be in a higher tax bracket because now you're a single filer. You're not filing married. So this can have a very big impact on somebody's lifestyle, and most couples don't plan for it. They're just assuming things are going to be fine when the first person dies, but there can be a big surprise, especially a few years later when you're running out of money. And so I think it's really important to build out a retirement income plan, maybe a retirement map, so we know exactly where you're going, how do we start out the journey, where are we going along the way, and how do we get to a successful end so you don't run out of money before you pass away. And where do your paychecks come from? Which accounts are we going to pull them from? when can they actually start? I mean, a lot of people come into my office and they're 59 and they say, I'd love to retire at 62. Can I do that? Well, we're going to run the scenarios and see, is that a viable alternative? How long is the money going to last, right? Nobody wants to run out of money in retirement. The two biggest fears everybody has in retirement are, number one, running out of money, when you're in your 80s or 90s, and number two, catastrophic healthcare expenses, which, oh, by the way, can cause you to run out of money. So they're certainly linked together. And then the last thing is, how is your income going to grow over time? We do need to account for inflation. And so how do we make sure that 5 years, 10, 20 years down the road, that your income is still keeping up with inflation, because inflation is always going to be out there in the future. So, with that, I've been talking about mostly income up front, and income, Social Security, and how you generate income from your portfolio, and maybe other things like rental income. That's a key part of retirement, because the day you retire, you can think about that now as being permanently unemployed. No more paychecks coming in. So how are you going to keep the money flowing so you can pay the bills? Just to remind you again, even if your house is paid off, you're going to have insurance costs, grocery costs, cell phone, gasoline, travel, going out to dinner. You go down the whole list, utility bills, things like that. So it's still going to have a cost, and healthcare gets more and more expensive over time. So if you don't have an income plan put together, I would, or at least an assessment of it, I would click the box, schedule a time so we can at least have a short conversation, see if it may make sense to take it beyond that, or answer some of your initial questions there. And let me just kind of go back to the slides, and we'll cover a few other segments here. So healthcare in retirement, another big concern that people have. And there's two major pieces of healthcare once you hit age 65, once you retire. Number one is Medicare. So if you hit 65 and you're not getting insurance through an employer, then you're going to want to sign up for Medicare. I'm not going to delve deeply into Medicare here because that takes a while. But with Medicare, it's a bit of an alphabet soup, a lot of letters. Medicare Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D, supplement plan A, F, G, all kinds of letters. That's just what they use in their terminology. But fundamentally, Medicare is going to take care of you on the healthcare side, and we can certainly help you navigate that along the way. And pretty much everybody's going to take care of this, because you have to have good medical insurance, and Medicare, if you structure it correctly, is excellent medical insurance. But the part that Medicare does not cover, and people are shocked to find out about this sometime, and you find out maybe when mom or dad who's 90 need care and it's not covered by Medicare, long-term care. So should you need care in your own home, in assisted living, in a residential care facility, or a nursing home, Medicare is really not going to pay for that. Maybe a little slice, maybe a couple days here or there, but it's not designed to pay for that. What are the chances you may need this type of thing? A lot of people have dealt with this, again, with aging parents. A few people have been lucky and they haven't dealt with it. But if you're still alive at age 65, you have a 70% chance that at some point, somebody's going to have to help you out, help you make it through the day, because you can no longer take care of yourself. That can happen for physical reasons. It can happen for mental reasons like dementia, Alzheimer's. And so again, it doesn't mean you're going to need it at 65, but sometime before you die, could be at 90 or 100, somebody's going to have to be helping you out. Again, Medicare doesn't cover it. Medi-Cal, which is a state of California program, might cover it, but you're going to have to spend down all of your assets to, if you're single, you can only keep $2,000. So that is not a good situation. And how long you need this care? If you do need it, it could easily be a 3 or 4 year period. Now, hopefully you don't need any care at all and you pass in your sleep. But if you need it, it's 3 to 4 years. And the cost of this right now in the Bay Area to pay for your own long-term care services would be $6,000 to $12,000 a month. And this is an issue that impacts women much more high frequency than men, because 2 out of 3 people in long-term care are females. Men tend to die quicker, so women live longer. And when people get sick, women tend to do better and last longer than a sick old male. He's not going to last as long. So this is an area that's a big risk for women. And also, who's the caregivers? Women provide the care to your husband. He passes away, and then you live even longer, and you need more care. And then who's there to help you out? So this is definitely an area where if you're not sure what all the options are, there's a lot of options when it comes to planning for long-term care. Using your own money is one of them, but there's other financial programs that can supplement that. You might want to click the box, and we can have a discussion on that, on this topic. This is something that I've dealt with within my family a few times already. And now taxes. Taxes are interesting because if you're complaining about taxes, that could be a good thing. That means that you have income, that you have assets. So if taxes are a problem for you, congratulations to you because you've done a good job. If you don't complain about taxes, that means that you have a low income. So that's got its own set of issues. And with taxes, I've never have a client come into my office in the whole time I've done this to say, Mark, I'm not paying my fair share of taxes. I want to pay more. You know, we all feel like we're paying more than our fair share, and you have no legal obligation to pay more than you owe. So are there some ways that we can maybe minimize your taxes in retirement? And something to be aware of, that the tax code, I think everybody's aware of this, the tax code changed significantly about 3 or 4 years ago. Taxes were lowered a lot for corporations, and for many people, taxes were lowered as well. But that tax change by the legislature was scheduled to just terminate in the year 2025. So we'll go right back to the old taxes as what they were before that, which means higher. What we have going on also in the same time frame is all the federal stimulus packages from the COVID virus and now the infrastructure bills, where there's trillions and trillions of dollars being borrowed by the government, put out in the economy, it's helping the economy, it's helping people pay their bills, but it all has to be paid back. So if you think taxes are going to be lower in the future, you're likely to be surprised. They're pretty much going to be higher. And how can we plan for that? Well, this shows you, this is a married couple. I'm sure we have some married women on the webinar, but this is just a slide where we have what's the tax code in the left, the year 2021. If you're a married couple and your income is 172 to 329,000, your tax rate right now, federal tax rate, is 24%. When we get to 2026, those same individuals, your tax rate is either going up to 28% or 33%, depending on your income. So that's a big increase in taxes. So in effect, tax rates are on sale right now and for the next 5 years. Are there some strategies you could do to try to improve your income down the road? Because again, less taxes, more income for you. So the question would be, does it make sense to look at some strategic asset conversions where we take your IRA or 401k accounts, convert partially those funds into tax-free accounts where there is no more income tax that'll ever be due. So Uncle Sam is completely out of the picture. And the prime example of that kind of account would be a Roth account. So a Roth account is something you may be eligible to contribute to. You may not, depends on your income, your spouse's income. You may want to convert to a Roth. You may not, but there's an analysis that would have to be done. A lot of people have confusions around Roth accounts as well. So if you do, click the box. We can have a discussion. I can clarify a lot more details on a Roth, as well as what are some other tax-free investments that you could consider if you were going to start converting your money and try to get it into lower or tax-free investments over time. And then the stock market itself, investing in the stock market. The great thing about the stock market is you can make a lot of money. If you want to have high growth and not complexity with the investment, you can buy real estate and everything, but that's got a lot more complexity to manage it. But if you just want to put money out there and let it grow, the stock market is a great place for that. But of course, the downside is there's a high risk in the stock market and you can lose a lot of money. So the stock market has been on a 10-year run actually 11 or 12-year run. It had a big blip last year when COVID hit, but it recovered in about 3 months. So the stock market has gone up 4 times. It's quadrupled in the last about dozen years or so. So that's pretty incredible, but it may change. And you got to be careful when you retire how much money you have in the stock market and what kind of stocks you're holding. So we could be in for a correction at some point in time. And what do you want to do when we have a correction? Well, 4 key things to think about. Number one, don't get emotional. When you get emotional and you're speaking or thinking about your investments, you may make some quick, rash decisions which aren't helpful. Also, try not to check your iPhone or your Samsung Galaxy all day looking at the price of stocks. That's not helpful. So, have a long-term perspective when you're looking at these things and understand your risk level. A lot of people think they're invested conservatively. We run the analytics on their portfolio and we say, you're actually kind of aggressive here on some of these accounts. So it makes sense to understand exactly the risk of your portfolio. And just as important to that is how much risk you can handle as an individual. So we have ways of quantifying that through some software that we use. And then act your age. This doesn't mean just, be mature about the process, but act your age, I'm referring to what's called the rule of 100. That's an old investment rule that says the amount of money you want in high growth investments is equal to your age subtracted from the number 100. So if you're 60 years old, 100 minus 60 is 40. That would say we'd want about 40% of your money in high growth and 60% that's more moderate or conservative. And the reason is pretty obvious. You don't have all the time to make up lost ground like a 30-year-old may. And then the last thing is have an actual plan. This thread comes through several times on the webinar here today that it makes sense to have a plan for everything that you're doing. Doesn't mean that the plan can't change, but at least have something laid out on paper that you know what we're trying to do and how much money we have for growth, how much is for income, how much is for safety in a portfolio, and maybe how much do you want to leave to the next generation. So when it comes to planning, there's actually 5 major areas of putting together a retirement plan. We want the income plan. You can see that on the top left. I've talked a lot about income tonight. How do we generate your monthly paychecks? We want investments for growth because we do have to account for inflation over time. We want to see if we can have some savings on taxes by moving investments around or creating strategies. Healthcare, I talked about. You want to make sure you get Medicare, but also what's your strategy on long-term care? And then family legacy, that's a nice way of saying when you die, do you want a lot of money to go in an efficient manner to your kids, grandkids, to charities? So that's another thing that we can help with. And in this area, one of the key things is having the correct beneficiaries on your accounts. I find a lot of people don't really name the correct beneficiary. So that's an area that we could help. So kind of what's the next steps as we wrap up the webinar? Schedule your 15-minute phone call. It's a pretty easy thing to do. It's just a phone call. Everybody knows how to use a phone. And I'll be able to answer any questions that you had on the webinar, any other questions that may have popped up for you over the course of the last few months or few years if you're thinking about retirement. So it's really all about taking the first step. So if you take that first step of a phone call, that's the first step to kicking off a great retirement, to get these things put in place. Find out if you can retire, find out what your income is going to be. Is your portfolio structured correctly? Do you have the right Social Security strategy? On down the list of the things I've discussed tonight. This is just pictures of our office here in downtown Pleasanton, and we're right on the corner of 1st and Main Street, right above Stanford Healthcare. The first conversation we're talking about is a phone call, but if it went beyond that, maybe you'd be visiting us someday in our offices. We certainly do a lot of Zoom calls for people that prefer that or people that are further away. So like the rest of the world, we've done a lot of business, a lot of helping people using Zoom over the past year. And so, that wraps up our content today. I hope that you learned something, at least food for thought in your retirement planning. I hope I get a chance to talk to many of you out there. I really enjoy working with all of our clients. I really enjoy working with women because I think they are better planners. They take planning more seriously. They want to make sure they're going to be taken care of as they get older. So if that's you, I'd be happy to help. We have a lot of women clients and, like I say, couples as well. So we are happy to work with either. And this is important stuff that I've been talking about. When you think about priorities in life, maybe your family, maybe your health, maybe your faith, these are the most important things in your mind, but your financial well-being falls right in there or right below that. So if you think I can help you out, I would stress, go ahead and make that phone call so we can at least have that initial conversation. And if you think you're going to call us back later and connect with us, you probably won't, because what happens is you get back to life as normal and we're all busy taking care of other things, and you'll kind of forget about this webinar. So if you haven't, if you want to kick it up in retirement, take that first step. Love to talk to you. Look forward to talking to anybody that happens to sign up for a call. If not, I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe we can help you down the road somewhere. Thanks so much, and have a good rest of the day.